The Fellowship French Mission was established in 1958 with the express, specific objective of reaching the people of Quebec with the gospel. Many of you are very familiar with the enormous sacrifice that those early English pioneers paid in order to accomplish that very important mission. In 1971, a visionary decision was taken to organize our 17 struggling Francophone churches into their very own region of churches known as EBEC. And today, EBEC is a mature region numbering 87 churches with excellent French-Canadian leadership. There are many stories to tell, but here is one that traces its roots back to the early pioneers. Meet Michel Habib. Through the teaching and mentoring of Bill Phillips, one of the first fellowship missionaries sent into Quebec, Michel grew in his faith and began a home Bible study group. Meet Monique Saunier. It was in 1978 when Michel's secretary, who was led to the Lord by Michel and his wife, led Monique to the Lord, and she began attending Michel's Bible study. Meet Gilles Saunier, Monique's husband, who, wanting to pull his wife out of what he thought was a cult, ended up attending one of Michel's Bible studies and became a Christian during that meeting. Since then, both Gilles and Monique have been on fire for the Lord, sharing their faith, planting churches, and playing significant roles in developing leaders in our Francophone fellowship churches.
I was looking to become a pastor one day. I was full of energy. I was very creative, but I needed someone who would coach me in the process of going through that period of my life.
On a tous besoin de quelqu'un qui est allé plus loin. Moi, je soupirais après une femme plus mature. Je priais pour ça depuis des années.
I needed someone who would coach me in the process of going through that period of my life. It ended up that I was in the same church as Gilles. He was pastoring the church. I knocked at his door. He decided to take time with me, and he gave me wisdom how to lead my life, how to be a good father, a good husband. And that was the first pieces that need to be put in place before seeing me preaching in a church.
Parce que dans mon église, j'en avais pas. J'ai cogné à la porte de Monique. Puis Monique a accepté. Monique, elle pourrait être ma mère, Monique. Elle a beaucoup plus avancé que moi au niveau de son couple, de sa famille, avec ses enfants, dans l'Église, prendre soin des autres femmes dans l'Église.
After the pioneers who came to preach the gospel, they found that they need to start up a place where the next generation of pastors could be trained. So in Quebec, God has used Sembec as the tool. So most of our pastors and churches today have been trained by Sembec, and a new generation is still trained by Sembec. So it's really the tool that God has used for ministry, leadership development in Quebec.
Comme la relation que j'ai avec Monique m'inspire, moi, à faire la même chose avec des femmes plus jeunes. Et si les femmes plus jeunes viennent me voir et me demandent aussi conseil ou de l'aide, c'est important de faire la même chose.
Now I have 62 years old, 63 in January. My goal is finished. I have time, pastor, and I have time to, like an evangelist, to share the gospel in all cities in the Quebec. If the Lord wants that, He will help me. If He not want, but I am ready for that.
Ce que j'ai sur mon cœur, c'est de voir l'Évangile se propager à travers le ministère des femmes. De voir des femmes qui prêchent l'Évangile dans leur communauté et qui ont un ministère, que ce soit un ministère social ou un ministère envers les sœurs.
These young men, they came here, they were, 22 years old, 23, very young, okay? And to quit their home, their families, and to come here and to love French Canadian. I always feel and were witness of their love for us.
I recall very vividly during my Air Force days sitting in a fighter interceptor during mid-air refueling, time and time again, in order to accomplish the ultimate mission. Similar to a marathon runner that hydrates himself time and time again in order to reach the finish line. Your funds through Project 2014 are the refueling that will allow us to go the distance in this spiritual marathon. The Project 2014 goal is to raise $150,000 to assist in the launch of 2 church plants in the Montreal area, one on the Plateau of Montreal and the other in the borough of LaSalle. To assist in renovating an old theater in Saint-Jérôme, Quebec, so it can adequately accommodate a congregation of 500 people. To return to Northwest Quebec to replant the seed once sown there by our pioneers, funding a Francophone evangelist. Internationally, in Val d'Europe, France, Project 2014 funds will assist 3 house groups rent space in the center of town. Our pioneer missionaries left the comforts of the familiar to make whatever sacrifice necessary in order to plant the seed of the gospel in the hard soil of Quebec. So I ask you, what sacrifice are you willing to make in order to reach Francophone Canadians with the gospel?